Television Network, TSPN. And now, TSPN News with Tom Slivick. Comprehensive news because in today's world, you need more than just sound bites. TSPN, streaming on the World Wide Web, and now on demand at tspntv.com. Hi everyone, I'm Tom Slivick and welcome to TSPN's News in Depth. And today I have a special guest, Bill Brewer. And Bill Brewer is a Mason. Yeah. And we're going to be talking about the Drytown Lodge. And I think the Drytown Lodge is in Plymouth, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so that's the beautiful lodge that's out there in Plymouth. It has always been looking as sharp as it is now. A few years ago it didn't look as good. But anyway, you've got that up to speed and they're celebrating, here it is, the sesquicentennial. Get a chance to use that again, that word. And for those of you that know it, you're right, it's 150 years. So Amador has a lot of events that are reaching 150-year milestones. And I think that's just wonderful. Tell us, what's the purpose of the celebration?
Well, again, as you mentioned, it's our 150th anniversary. It's an opportunity for us to get together and hopefully in this particular event to demonstrate to the community our involvement in the community. That's why we're doing the parade and the presentation in the park and then reception at the lodge following the presentation.
Okay. You know, in today's world, I think you're maybe more mysterious as being a Mason than in a way that were maybe 150 years ago when in a way you were probably considered a lodge that held ancient wisdom or mystery, like almost not a mystery religion because you weren't a religion, but held like secret, what would I call it? Secret knowledge, I guess, passed down through the ages. Probably, you know, some stuff that maybe the Knights Templar knew, and you know, and brought this stuff back, and it was passed on.
Well, our meetings, our rituals are certainly closed. In terms of what occurs, at, say, at a stated meeting, a business meeting, or one of our degree raisings. But there's nothing really mysterious about what we do. And you're correct, it's not a religion. We do have to profess a belief in a supreme being. Okay. Other than that, you can be of any faith or any denomination.
Okay. And what was the allure for so many people in the past to be Masons? You know, a lot of the founding fathers were Masons. A lot of people at that time, like I said, I think quite a few people in our country's early beginning, maybe 100, 150 years, were Masons. It was quite dominant, wasn't it?
Yes, I believe it was. And what I would suggest to you is that the whole value system within the Masons is to build, make better men better, to build leadership skills. And in the earlier days, you're quite right. A lot of the founding fathers were Masons. The Masonic orders try to engender that kind of a spirit into an individual and develop those kinds of skills.
Okay, do you have to be a Mason to know like what some of the symbology is? I know. So what are some of the, I don't want to call it strange names, but they, you know, they don't have names like Grand Dragon, things like that, right?
Well, the head of the Masonic Order in the state of California is referred to as the Most Worshipful Grand Master.
Okay, they have these. I love those kind of names. It sounds like roll off of Mark Twain would have wrote them or something.
And the head of any lodge is, well, I guess the comparison would be the president of a Rotary Club. The president of a lodge is referred to as a master.
Okay, and you hold that rank. Is it a rank?
I'm a past master, and it is. It's not a job in the sense there are certain duties that are inculcated in the position, but you have to be voted by members of the lodge to be master.
Well, we're kind of on this subject, I'm talking about a little like that. If a person like myself or somebody else would be interested, what would they find like at some of the first meetings if they went? What would it be like?
Well, first of all, you would have to be initiated. There's 3 degrees in the Blue Lodge, which is the Freemasons Lodge.
Okay.
The Entered Apprentice degree, Fellowcraft degree, and the Master Mason degree. The Entered Apprentice degree is your first entrance into the lodge. You are not able to attend a lodge meeting until you have at least been initiated into the Masonic Order, and that would require you're going through filling out a fairly lengthy application, background check. Members of the lodge would contact you.
What would it be expected of me, maybe for a good reason to want to join the lodge? Do you fellows say, I don't know, why do you want to join the lodge? Would that be a question you would ask?
It would be a question in terms of your motivation, of what motivated you to become a Mason. On the internet's a terrific information source, and you can go out there and Google almost anything you want, and you can find out in terms of the values that are required, the processes that you have to go through, and all that. None of that part of it is secret or whatever. It's how the meetings are conducted, the formality of the meetings, where the ritual comes into it. And there's nothing about that that is particularly foreign or whatever.
So it's basically to learn, as you said, I guess, like leadership skills and to make you a better person. Maybe how does the Masons help you do that? You have example or direct things that you learn?
It would be things that you would learn. And again, the motto is making good men better.
Okay. And
as you would go through and process through the 3 degrees and that I mentioned earlier, you would learn different skills, different philosophies, and that kind of stuff, and how they may or may not apply to everyday living.
Okay, I'm going to ask you another question.
Okay.
Before we came on the air, I talked to you a little bit about your history, and you said you're the 3rd generation Masons. Your father was a Mason, and his father was a Mason. Did you notice any difference in yourself, like when you were growing up, to other boys, or on that from the way that your father talked with you or interacted with you, that you felt were different from some of the other?
I don't know that. I don't know that
I'm just
so much.
curious.
I don't know that so much. I think my father was pretty much like all fathers of his generation.
Okay.
And he had a very strong spiritual belief, and he had a belief system that required myself and my sisters to toe the mark.
Okay. All right. So let's. The lodge always wasn't let's see. The lodge is number 174.
Correct.
Okay, so number 174 is that a pretty low number, by the way? I mean, as I
alluded to earlier, I belong to 4 different Masonic lodges. 174 is the lowest of the 4 that I belong to.
Okay.
The highest is 1006.
Okay.
So you can kind of see.
That's what I was trying to say. So basically, you're were founded kind of in a fairly low number.
Yeah, in the Gold Rush era.
Okay, in the Gold Rush times, and about how many members were? It sounded to me. I read a little bit about this. How many lodges were there in this Gold Rush area, say of Amador, at the same time?
Well, in terms of lodges with lower numbers, I guess.
Or just lodges themselves?
Okay, there was a lodge here in Jackson,
okay.
Amador Lodge,
Right.
and they're a little older than we are. They have since combined with Volcano Lodge,
okay.
who is a little bit lower than Amador. In El Dorado is the Hiram Lodge, number 25. Placerville is Placerville Lodge, number 26. So there's some pretty old lodges up in the foothill area, and grand old lodges.
Okay. So nearly any place where there was a fair number of people, there was a Masonic lodge.
I think that's fair to say.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So let's talk about the Lodge 174. Where was it? Where was its beginnings?
Well, Drytown Lodge 174. So it began in Drytown. They received a dispensation to hold meetings in April of 1865. They received their charter as a lodge in the fall of 1865. Their first meetings were held in a variety of places. George Grimes Hall, Miners Hall, Oddfellows Hall. And then finally, the gentleman by the name of William Jennings, who was the secretary of the lodge and owned a general store there in Drytown, said, well, why don't you guys put a second story on my store and you can have your lodge room up there. So that's what they did. And they met there for a number of years. There were a couple catastrophes, a fire or two, but
Conflagration.
yes, but they survived there, as I recall, to 1905, and then the building had deteriorated to the point. Well, I'm sorry, it was 1905 when they purchased the ground floor from Jennings, and where they owned the whole building and the land. I believe it was 1913 when the building.
Well, they were there for quite a few years since 65 to into the 1900s.
Correct. And, well, it was probably in the 1870s when they built the lodge. They didn't build it right away. They met at several locations in the Drytown area. In 1913, they moved to the Oddfellows Hall in Plymouth, and then they negotiated the purchase of the Methodist Episcopal Church there in Plymouth on Main Street in 1926, and we have been at that location since.
Okay. Do you remember any stories from your father or anything like that? What it was, what it was like when he was there? And we're going to have to take a break, and when we come back, maybe you can answer that.
All right.
Okay, stay with us.